Hey, this is Evan Longoria of your San Francisco Giants, and you're listening to Torture Cast.
You're listening to a podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Let's go, Giants! With hosts Willie Dills, Chad King, Ben Lee, and Eric Nathanson. Dedicated to the greatest team in Major League Baseball, the San Francisco Giants. This is Torture Cast. Standing on top, not gonna stop. We came to play, ain't slowing down. Falling on, we're here to stay, and we're stomping on whatever's in our way. I'm feeling like a Giant tonight.
It's Thursday, April 26, 2018, and this is episode 140 of the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. I'm your host, Chad King, and joining me again from Georgia is Eric Nathanson. What's up, dude?
Not much. I hate these days off. It's a long, boring day. We need baseball again.
It's, been 10 days since we recorded? I was traveling this week, so we kind of bumped this to a unusual Thursday broadcast or recording, but we did want to get one out for you before the Dodgers come in and before the Giants play too much. But it's been an okay week. You know, I like Eric's new torture level rating of 1 to 10. And, I don't want to spoil anything because it's been a few extra days since he's written his last torture report. But I'd say since we last recorded, the torture's at about a 5 or so.
Yeah,
that's right
fair.
in the middle because they were 5-4. They've played 9 games since we recorded on Monday. 5-4. They did lose yesterday. They could have made it a nice 6-3, but they got blown the F up by the Nats yesterday, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But overall, the Giants are 11-13. Again, floating around 500. It looked like it was going to get kind of bad there. They were 6-10 and 7-11, but they've gained a couple gains since then. They are in 4th place and 5.5 back of Arizona. So
technically now 6 back because Arizona won this afternoon.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so Arizona
I know,
gained another
I
half game there.
Yeah, right.
So
it literally
6
just
back.
happened like an hour ago tops.
Yeah, so they haven't been able to really gain any ground against Arizona because they're doing well. And part of the week, of course, the reason why they're falling further behind Arizona is they did lose 2 of 3 at Arizona. They were outscored 7-5. They did win their very first series of the year. Can you believe it took that long to win their first series of the year? And they did it against the what's his face?
Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim Disney Corporation, or whatever the hell their name is now.
Ohtani. I almost said Ohani. Why would I say Ohani? The Ohtani-led Angels. They did win 2 out of 3, and then they beat Washington 2 out of 3, despite losing in a laugher yesterday. So overall, not a bad week, but it'd be nice if they could, put together a good 6-2, kind of 7-1 week one of these times. But alas, we'll take what we can get.
Yeah, you mentioned series victories. It was hard for them because a lot of the series to open the season, it was 4 in LA, and then it was 2 against Seattle, and then it turned into 2 against LA. So they didn't even play a 3-game series until like the 4th series of the season.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, the one that gets me still is before that Arizona series last week, they lost 3 of 4 to San Diego, and that's what's put them behind the 8 ball. If it wasn't for that series, they'd be 500. They'd look pretty good. 2 out of 3. Like, I'm fine with 2 out of 3 from the Nats, and I'm fine getting blown away 15-2 because they already took care of business in those first 2 games.
Yeah, it doesn't matter too much. What's funny is they were outscored 20-10 by the Nationals in the series because of the one lopsided score, yet they won 2 out of 3. They outscored the Angels 15-7, so, they kind of got some back there. That's why baseball's a weird thing. I know that a lot of the standings this year are now incorporating a run differential column, and it's in the beginning part of the year, the first month, it's kind of fun to look through there because, most of the first place teams have a dominant net positive, and most of the last place teams have a dominant net negative. But some of the teams floating around 500, like the Giants, it varies a lot. And you can see that they just have a lot of variability in their scores. So a 500 team doesn't necessarily, is not floating around 0 in terms of run differential. And look at right here, the Giants take 2 out of 3, but they get outscored by 10 runs in the series. So that's why it's not exactly the most accurate stat in the world. You do have to play probably a good half a season before that starts to normalize, I would say.
And they've given up 19 more runs than they've scored this season, yet they still managed to almost be 500. So I'll take. I mean, there's two games we can point at. They got beat by San Diego 10-1, and they got beat yesterday by Washington 15-2. Other than that, everything's been pretty close and pretty tight. There's nothing to skew the run differentials or anything.
Yeah, that's a good point. You take those two losses, they're 500, and their run differential is pretty much 0 out of those.
Yeah, it's pretty even at that point.
11-11, yeah. Now, the San Diego series, you point to that. That was really, really frustrating. You look at where the Padres are right now. They're at the bottom of the barrel. They are 9-17. They've lost 7 out of their last 10, and they have, the second worst record in the National League. No, sorry, third worst record in the National League. So for them to win 3 out of 4 against the Giants after the Giants won the very first game, it does hurt. It does hurt. The Giants just split that series, like you said. They would be 12-12 right now and ahead of the Dodgers, but it is what it is. These things happen, and the Giants have won a few tight games again this year already. So it balances out in the end, but it's a rough one.
All right, well, let me ask you this. We talked before the season started, and it's been mentioned a few times, if the Giants stay around 500, then maybe they can make some noise. Did you expect them to actually stay around 500 like this, or are they starting to win games that you did not expect them to win?
I think with the changes they made this year, again, going in not knowing some of these slumps that we've been seeing, I would have ballparked right around 500 or maybe a couple games under. I didn't see them tanking like they did in 2017, at least not right away, because of those additions. But, I wish they were doing better. But this is kind of where I thought they would be, to be honest. What about you?
Which isn't... Yeah, well, I mean, this is actually worse than I thought they would be, but, all my great predictions were
that's
before
true. I forgot here.
But let's be honest.
Your total was pretty damn high, yeah.
Yeah, it's 96, but... that was not knowing. They're playing. I'm frustrated because it took them so long to get going, and they're finally. I wrote about it recently. They're finally getting out of their own way by having things like Mac come up to play, by giving other guys shots at the starting rotation, by letting Maranta take high leverage innings. Things like that. The Giants kind of saw what they have, and now they're getting out of their own way. So they're kind of what I expected. Like, I'd like to see more 8-2 victories. There was a game against the Angels. It was like 8-1 Friday night. And, we barely ever get those laughers as Giants fans. It's always 5-3, 4-2, 4-3. That's where the torture gets ratcheted up. We haven't seen as many of those 8-1 games as I'd like to see, because I do think this offense can click. But otherwise, I think they're in a perfect position right now. Arizona they're not running away with it, but they have not lost a series yet this year. So when you talk about things regressing to the mean, that's going to happen too. And that'll be the chance for the Giants to get back in it. I mean, 5.5 games, it sounds like a lot when you're 3.5 weeks into the 3 weeks, 11 and 13, 3.5 weeks into the first season, but it's really not that much. It's one series here, and then you win 2 out of 3, they lose 2 out of 3, and suddenly you're right back in it.
Yeah, certainly not insurmountable. Again, they need to cool off, and the Giants need to start playing some better ball. Floating around 500 for the first couple months until Bum comes back is the goal right now. And I think people also have to understand that when Madison Bumgarner does come back, assuming he's the same pitcher that he's always been, which, look, he had a much more serious injury last year. And everybody was worried when he came back off the DL late in the season. He was fine. He had a couple rusty starts, but other than that, I mean, his overall numbers were just like normal Mad Bum. And this spring, he was dealing. He was looking very dominant. And that adds to the frustration, I think, because there were a lot of people sensing that he was poised for a very big year. Maybe not a Cy Young year, but maybe one of his best years, just the way he was throwing. And I think I saw it during media day. He was really determined to get back on the horse, so to speak, because he was very remorseful for his decision of getting on that bike last year. And he said he was embarrassed. He said he knows that he let the team down. He let the fans down. He let his teammates down and and management down. And so I think I don't know what his training regimen was this year, but he's the kind of guy, he seems to be able to flip a switch, which has been proven in the playoffs. Like he can be great the regular season, and the playoffs he can flip it on, or very good during the regular season, and he flips it on against Kershaw and the Dodgers on a Saturday afternoon. He has that innate ability, and I don't know, maybe he went into this season with a little more focus and a little more drive. Not that he lacked any of that before.
Right.
And now he's been set back by a stupid, broken bone from a line drive in his very last start of the spring, which is still just, it's unbelievable. But when he does get back, and assuming he pitches like Mad Bum of old, I mean, we're talking about a guy who gets a WAR of a few to 4 games a year. He's one of the best pitchers in the National League, but he himself isn't going to add 6 or 7 wins to the Giants. That's not how it works. I think I shouldn't say everybody, some people misunderstand, hey, look, you pitch every 5th day. Number one, it's certainly not a guaranteed win when he's pitching. And number 2, it's not a guaranteed loss if someone else is pitching other than Mad Bum, taking his place, i.e. Chris Stratton, right?
Not this year.
Not this year, exactly. So I think people are thinking, once he comes back, we're going to get an extra win a week. Well, not at all. Every 3rd or 4th start, maybe he would get a win where another replacement would not. Maybe. So we have to be careful with overestimating his effect on the team in terms of actual wins and losses. That said, him just being in the dugout and adding a couple of bombs here and there at the plate can definitely turn the tide in more than a few games. But I think overall, you're talking about less than 2/3 of the season, almost half the season that he's going to miss, or about a third of the season he's going to miss. So he can't really replace too many wins over his replacement. Not a tremendous amount. So
No,
I think
and
we
the
need to temper
beauty-
those expectations.
Well, I mean, the beauty of it is he'll be stepping in a rotation that we originally thought might be in a mess. And right now, Johnny Cueto's leading the National League with a .35 ERA. Chris Stratton's number 9 with a 2.32 ERA. And these guys are regularly pitching into the 6th and the 7th inning now. It's like Mad Bum's, he's needed, but now he's going to be stepping into a rotation that already has a good 2-headed monster at the top. I'm salivating over the thought of Bumgarner, Cueto, and Stratton in a 3-game series against anybody. I don't care who it is. It's so appealing. They're so good at the top right now. It sounds weird to say, but they really are. Cueto and Stratton are what's helping stem the tide. It's not the fill-in starter of Holland here or Beatty here or even Ty Block. It's been those 2 guys that have been able to carry it.
Yeah, and it will lengthen the bullpen because Mad Bum can pitch longer than Derek Holland. And he's a much higher quality pitcher than Derek Holland. So, and that's where essentially that's the person he's going to replace. My assumption is
yeah, mine too.
Come back if everything stays the same right now. Holland's going to be the one that's going to be maybe DFA'd, maybe relegated to the bullpen, and having someone else sent back down. I'm not sure. We can play that game later when Mad Bum's back, but yeah, certainly if it comes back to Mad Bum, Cueto, Stratton, top 3, the way the other 2 are pitching right now, that's very dominant. I mean, Stratton's got a better ERA than Clayton Kershaw right now. So I'm not saying he's better than Clayton Kershaw. I'm just pointing out that early oddity in the statistics.
Well, since he's joined the rotation last year, Stratton has never given up more than 3 runs in a game.
Yeah.
Smarja gave up 3 runs in the first inning yesterday. Stratton hasn't given up. Right. Stratton hasn't given up 3 in a game.
Yeah. No, Stratton's been solid. I like that guy. He's doing real well. Well, yeah, I think we should talk about it. You added this to the notes, and definitely I wanted to talk about it. But Hunter Pence, he just was not cutting it. And whether it being real or not, he was put on the DL for a thumb injury. And I know he did. He's diving for a ball, right? And he turned his hand or something.
Opening day or something like that.
Yeah, and that's the only problem I have with the quote story, is that it took so long for them to go, yeah, Hunter hurt his, yeah, that's right, he hurt his thumb. Didn't you, Hunter? Oh, yeah, I did. Okay, yeah, we're going to put you on the DL. Because, look, if he really did hurt his thumb and it was lingering and it wasn't healing, and he really wasn't telling the Giants, because that's who Hunter Pence is. He's not, he's kind of like a Ronnie Lott type. He's not going to tell the Giants, hey, my thumb hurts, I should go on the DL. But if that was the case, he was hurting the team because his performance really sucked. And part of it's age, but if the injury is real, I could totally imagine the thumb hurting his swing. But, man, we've talked about it ad nauseum the last couple of podcasts. Like Andrew Baggerly says, it looks like he's hitting while wearing roller skates,
Yeah, he does.
We're watching him arch his back and fling his wrist out to try and cover the outside pitch while he steps in the bucket. He's doing everything that just, you tell a little leaguer, like, dude, you are messed up right now. He's all sorts of discombobulated, and I don't see how that has a huge bearing with the thumb. The thumb's not making him do some of those things, I wouldn't think. But
no.
That being said, he was put on the DL, and Mac Williamson, because he was tearing up AAA, just absolutely destroying the Pacific Coast League. He was called up in his very first game. He launches one, and he's been incredible so far. And I think, you have a question here about, is this going to last?
I mean, who knows? That's the thing. Like, it starts with the Hunter Pence thing. Like, I'm not sure what the Giants are going to do because Pence doesn't have options. It's not like they can send him to AAA. If they do, they have to DFA him. And
they're not going to do that.
They're not going to do it. They're just not going to do it. For everybody who screams about Hunter Pence needs to get out of the way, it's just not going to happen. Hunter's done too much for the organization, and the organization has done a lot for Hunter. So there's no way. I mean, he is their oldest position player, so I totally get that he might be a bench player. But then, Gorky's hasn't been performing horribly. Blanco has been fantastic. So, like, when Pence comes back, neither Blanco nor Gorky's has options. So do one of those guys get DFA'd? Because, nobody wants to get rid of Mac, or does Mac get sent back down to AAA to, quote-unquote, work on things when he doesn't need to work on a damn thing? Like, Bochy already said when Pence comes back, he's going to play. And I'm not sure I believe him. I'm not sure how much we can believe him. Yeah. I mean, Mac has forced his way into the starting lineup. The guy's homered in 3 out of 5 games he's played.
And
he's got
crucial homers.
Yes. Oh, my God. The one on Tuesday night against Washington, after they had taken a lead, they extended their lead from 1-0 to 3-0 with Belt's home run. And then with 2 outs and I believe 2 strikes, they get was it block pitch in the other? Yeah, he gives up. Yeah, he gives up the 3-run homer to Michael Taylor the opposite way, and it's like crap. All that work, for nothing. And then Matt comes out the very next half inning, and it wasn't his hardest, it was his softest home run and his shortest home run of all 3. But it made such a difference. Like, as a Giants fan, I didn't feel like, oh my God, we got to get a guy on, we got to get a guy over, and then get a guy in. Like, it's the new look team, and I don't know how you take that out of the lineup. So Gorky's or Blanco is going to be the odd man out, I think.
And I think it has to be Gorky's or Blanco. I hate to say it. I mean, Gorky's and Blanco are hitting almost the exact same right now, 280 and 279. They've been very serviceable. There's been no problem with them. I mean, Blanco's cooled off a lot. I think he's hitting like 159 over his last 20-something at-bats. So he has cooled off a bit, but still overall he's not doing too bad. So I don't know, man. I mean, Hunter Pence is hitting a robust 172 right now on the season with no home runs and only 3 RBI. And 22 strikeouts and 58 at-bats. That's one of the most glaring statistics. He's never been a massive strikeout guy, and this year he is. He is striking out, almost 40% of the time here. Yeah, you're not going to get rid of Pence. You're not going to get rid of the other guys in the outfield. I don't see how it can be anyone but Gorky's or Blanco. Is there another? I mean, seriously, is there another scenario? I know
there isn't.
Go, get rid of Pence. Get rid of Pence. You don't
can't
do that. You don't do that. Not at 58 at bats into the season, and assuming he had a legitimate thumb injury, and for what he's done for this team, and that he's making $18 million guaranteed. You're not going to do that. That would devastate the clubhouse. That would devastate a good portion of the fan base. It would shock a lot of people. Believe me, everyone, that's not going to happen. There's just no way. Hunter Pence is on this team for this year. Now, if he gets, quote, injured again, maybe something like that might happen. he's not going to be DFA'd. It's just
No.
That's what it is. Now,
if he's willing to take a bench role, though, to me that is huge for team morale, because he's been a leader for 5 years. So if the team said, if people look at it and that the new guys are looking at it and they say, oh, if this guy's willing to take a smaller role, something special must be here, and we got to figure out what that is. Because
I think that's absolutely what they do right now. They need to, Blanco has more, pull, I think, with Bochy than Gorkis. So my guess would be Gorkis would be. Did you say he has no options left though?
Yeah, they're both out of options.
Yeah,
That's
they're
the
both
problem.
out of options, so they have to DFA either one that they release, and they're not going to probably clear waivers. So most likely they're going to lose one of those two guys, and that's the risk you run to have Hunter Pence. And I know that would be your bitter Giants fan argument of like, well, if one of these guys is better than Hunter Pence, why would you get rid of them and not Hunter Pence? Well, there's a million reasons why. Okay, and we just went over them. I totally agree with you. I think Hunter Pence has already said, I'll do whatever it takes to help this team. And so I don't see any issue with him kind of getting a bench role. And I think that Bochy would be able to talk to him in a way that just makes sense. He'll be like, Hunter, Mac has, it's at 3 home runs in 5 games, and, well, you've hit none, and he's won a couple games for us, so we're just going to ride him right now. So, you know what I mean? I don't think Hunter would be like, no, F you, I'm better than that kid. It's like, well, no, not right now.
Actually, I noticed it Tuesday night after Mac's home run. He was in the dugout, and the person right next to him talking to him was Hunter Pence.
Yeah.
And that just says so much about Hunter as a person, as a teammate, that he's not looking to be a detriment to the ball club.
No, he's nothing but a good teammate and a mentor, like you said. So he'd be the first one in Bochy's office going, hey, Skip, no, I would do the same thing. That you'd be an idiot not to do that. He might even go far as to say, you shouldn't be releasing Gorkis or Blanco. You should be getting rid of me. No, he probably wouldn't ever go that far. I think he should take a bench role, and he'll have spot starts. And Mac's going to hit a wall. He's going to hit a slump. He's going to get into a week where he's going to be 1 for 13, and he's going to go through a power outage. It will happen. And when that happens, that would be a perfect time to give Hunter Pence 2 or 3 games in a row. And just to see if he has anything left. If he's recovered from the supposed thumb injury, maybe he'll get a shot. And if he strings together a few base hits in 2 or 3 games, that causes more problems, obviously. But at the same time, it's not going to completely demoralize Hunter for being a bench player the entire year.
And that brings us. Well, that brings me to the other question I posed. Is Mac for real, or is this just like because he just adjusted the swing and all that stuff, it's like an overcorrection in a sense? Is he? I used the term flash in the pan, but that's not the right term.
But like, sustainable?
Right. Is this the real Mac? I'm not expecting 3 home runs in 5 games all the time.
No.
But like, is this the real Mac? The Mac who got a base hit in every single game he's played, not just homered. He's got an RBI, I think, a different way. He's got 7 runs driven in. One of them was through a single. So, like, is this the real Mac? Are we finally seeing it? Like, did he hit that time? Because when a big leaguer or a ball player gets to be 26, 27 years old and they haven't made it, you kind of have to look at yourself and go, okay, I haven't made it yet. What am I doing wrong? And is it worth it for me to stick it out? And Mac decided, yes, it is. I'm going to change my swing. He worked with Justin Turner's swing doctor. I can't remember the guy's name. And completely overhauled it. So much so that Davey Martinez, the Nationals manager, after the game the other night, didn't know that Mac worked with Turner's guy and said, you know who he reminded me of? Justin Turner. So it's working. I think there's a possibility that Mac falls into his old ways.
Yes. I agree with you there.
Right. As hitters, we've both done it. We know what it's like to make an adjustment to your swing.
You make then all of a sudden, and you could slide right back because he's hit a certain way for so many years in the pros. I'm not going to say since a kid. I don't know how he swung as a kid. But it's certainly he's had the same swing over the previous 3 or 4 years. And to suddenly change it, and he's having great success with it so far, You just don't know. There inevitable slumps happen, and he's going to question it, and someone will point it out. Hey, you're not doing that correction, or you didn't have it changed to the way Justin Turner had it, and maybe he'll come back. I don't know. He's 27 years old. I would bet money less than 50% chance that he's going to not continue 3 out of 5. Everyone knows that, but I mean, okay, let's put it this way. Coming into this season, he's had a little over 200 professional at-bats in the major leagues. Okay, I'm not looking at his minor league stats right now, just his major league stats. Right now, he's hitting 234, so it was a little lower than that before his little streak here. He's got 12 bombs and 231 at-bats. That's a pretty large sample size over a 3+ year period. It's definitely not a little bit. He might be a guy who just is always going to hit 230, 240. If he is, the Mac experiment is not going to go so well. If he raises that by 30 points, 40 points to kind of 265 ballpark and can pop you 15 to 20 per 600 at-bats, which he seems completely capable of, no doubt about that. I think he's going to stay with the Giants, but I don't know. I have my doubts, and it's nothing against him. It's just you've seen this happen before with other players that have been around, and then suddenly they figure it out, but then they kind of fade away. And that's what I'm wondering if that's going to happen. But
I hope not. I've always been in Mac's corner, obviously. The one I'm looking at Baseball Prospectus, and he was projected this year to only hit 6 home runs and only get 172 plate appearances, and he's going to surpass both those numbers because they don't have him as a good hitter. They have him as a 232 hitter. What did he hit last year? 235?
235, yeah. 223 the year before that and 219 the year before that.
Right. So, I mean, he seems to be making more contact in general and striking out less with the new swing, which leads me to believe it's possible he won't run into that wall. But, I mean, all we can do is hope because time has to pass.
Yeah, time has to pass.
Yeah.
So we'll go with that. All right, let's cover who's hot. So we haven't talked about him yet, the polarizing figure that he is, apparently, in Giants fandom, which I still don't understand. Can someone out there who hates Brandon Belt explain to me the hate for Brandon Belt? Yes. The only thing I've ever heard is that he's a streaky player. He'll be really hot and then he'll be really cold. It's like, yeah, but why do you hate him for that?
Right.
Overall, his numbers aren't atrocious. Most years they're pretty decent. He's actually, you rank him in first baseman, he's not that bad. He's certainly well above average. And yet there's just all of this hate for him. And you just go, what other better option do they have right now? Buster Posey is not going to take over first base full time. You're not going to have Nick Hundley catching full time. This is not going to happen. Why are the fans, some of them, a good portion of them, so against Brandon Belt? I don't know. I don't know. I personally really like the guy. Yeah, I wish he was more consistent. But I tell you what, he's on a tear right now. And that was the number one thing I saw on Twitter. And these Giants Facebook groups, by the way, I won't mention them by name, but
oh my,
they were not like this a couple of years ago. I've been part of these groups for 4 or 5 years, and primarily just to see what they're discussing. I rarely engage, but I certainly use it to post our links to the show and articles and what have you. But it is just my feed is full of just toxic banter back and forth about the Giants. People making the most absurd conclusions and ridiculous strategical opinions. And then, of course, the hate for Belt is so extreme. But conversely, the love for Belt is there, too. You have your Belt lovers. And right now, you have all your Belt lovers coming out going, hey, all you Belt haters, suck it. Look at him right now. 5 home runs in 6 games. And you think he sucks? You really think we can replace him? Now, number one, they have a great point, but they're coming at it just so aggressively. And then the Belt haters come back and go, oh, whatever, dude. It's 1 week. He'll get cold again and he'll suck. You just see and I'll be back and all that stuff. And you're just like, wow, aren't we all supposed to be fans of the same team here? This is
right. Like, why are you watching then?
This is really hard to watch. But regardless of his streakiness, he has hit 5 home runs in his last 6 games. He's hitting since we recorded last. I like to do that stat. Since we last recorded, SWR. Since we recorded.
That's what that means. Okay.
Sorry, yeah, I had that in there. Since we recorded. I love all the sorting tools in Baseball Reference, by the way. 379 with those 5 home runs and 8 RBI. And now for the season, he stands at 304 with 6 bombs and 12 RBIs. His OPS is very respectable, 1,040, and his WAR is at a cumulative 1.0. So, freaking Mike Trout is leading the world in WAR at 2.2 right now. But hey, he's almost as half as valuable as Mike Trout right now.
And Mike Trout's valuable. I mean, the guy homered in 3 straight games this weekend.
And then again, the next game or the second game after that, he's up to 10 home runs now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he hit another one. So, guys, look, yes, Brandon Belt next week may go 2 for 20. I get it. And he might go back down. If the guy hits 260, 270 for the year with 20 home runs, why the hate? You tell me who's going to hit better than that for them at first base. I challenge anyone. There's no answer. No one is going to hit better than that at first base. I don't understand the hate. It is frustrating when he goes through these streaks, and he had a streak in the beginning of the year where he was really, really cold and striking out with guys on base a lot. But, you just got to have patience with the guy because they don't have an alternative right now. So let's support the guy, and he's doing really well right now, and let's see where it goes. But I just don't get the Belt hate.
Well, I mean, a lot of it has to do with approach, and I've questioned his approach before, but the last few days
we've talked about it a lot, too.
Right, but I've been thinking about it.
By him.
Why should I question his approach if it's working? Because it's working. Like he was going to hit 25 home runs last year if he didn't have that other concussion. Mm-hmm. He went through stuff last year. It wasn't just like he had a bad year. So, I mean, I'm not going to question his approach for a while. I can't. I mean, we haven't even talked about the greatest moment from the past week that Brandon Belt was part of, and he didn't even hit a home run. The man had a 20.
I forgot to write that down.
He had a 21-pitch at bat. He fouled off 11 straight pitches before putting the ball in play. Like, they didn't even get to a full count until the 9th pitch of the at-bat. Yeah. And then he fouled off the next 11 straight, and then he finally flew out to right, which is fine, whatever. I didn't really care about the result. I just didn't want him to strike out. But it was a major league record. Him and this rookie pitcher, Barria, who had pitched like one other game in his whole life, this one at-bat with Brandon Belt ruined the guy for the whole game. Mm-hmm. Like, Belt single-handedly knocked this guy out of the game with a 21-pitch at-bat. And it just, as it went on and on, I was sitting right where I am now in my office, and I had it on my tablet, and the wife was in here with me. And like, we're kind of sitting here, and like, about 10 pitches into it, 11 pitches in, I kind of like lean forward, and, we're talking. I'm like, wait. She's like, what? I'm like, this is like the 12th pitch of the at-bat. And then immediately, like, we both just get quiet, and watch it out. And I can only remember one other at-bat in my lifetime feeling that long, and that was Alex Cora and Matt Clement 15 years ago on a Sunday night. And that was like a 16-pitch at-bat. So this was the modern record. And then did you see whose record he broke?
Yeah, it was Alex Cora.
No, it was Ricky Gutierrez against Bartolo Colon in 1998.
I'm sorry, I was thinking of the Grand Slam that ended. That's right, it was Bartolo Colon and Ricky Gutierrez. That's right.
Is that not amazing?
Yeah. And Colon.
Bartolo in 1998. Bartolo set a record, and
how much skinnier Bartolo?
Yeah, he was still active to have it broken 20 years later, which is amazing. But like watching Belt do that, it tells me he can foul off the pitches he wants to. And the reason he's not taking those close calls is he's done his research. Maybe the guy's not calling him there. Belt's not going to extend his zone if he thinks he's going to swing and miss. What's the point? What's the difference if he swings and misses or if it's a called third strike? It's the same damn thing. It just looks worse if it's a called third strike. So I can't question Belt's approach anymore, especially after that one at bat. It showed so much about who he is.
Yeah, and I guess because I didn't see it live, I saw the replay of the stitching together of all the pitches, which was really, really cool. But I guess at one point he actually fouled off 11 consecutive pitches. I mean, I don't even know. That sounds fake. But until I saw the stitched together replay, where you see that streak kind of all the way up until the fly out, right? So his pitches, 9 or 11 through 20 or whatever it was, or I guess 10 through 20. That's
10 through 20, yeah.
Yeah, it was all fouls. It was just click, 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 click. I was just like, this is insane. This is insane, man. And I love Brandon Bell at the end of the game. He was saying, you know what? I always get on, I'm paraphrasing, but he says, when a guy is doing that when he's out in the field, you hate it. And you go, come on, dude. It's not that hard to put it in play. He's also, I apologize to everyone for that.
Well, I also heard him say he got tired at the end of it, and I don't blame him. And the other thing is kudos to that pitcher, because you have to pound the zone to keep having a guy, especially a guy like Brandon Belt, keep fouling the ball off. And you can't do that against a guy like Smarja, who's going to get a wild hair up his nose. You can only do it against a guy who's going to pound the zone. And
wasn't he making his major league debut?
Second start ever.
Okay, so anyway, but he's brand new to the big leagues, and he's
completely
just hanging in there with a full count, throwing freaking 11, 12 strikes in a row. Just
like the moment that happened, I knew the Giants would win that game.
Yeah,
they should have scored. The guy threw 50 pitches in the first inning. The Giants loaded the bases, and they didn't score.
Yeah.
Right, and everybody was like, oh, typical Giants, yada, yada, yada. But you knew they were going to break through eventually because this guy, it was like beach balls at that point. This guy was throwing up there.
Yeah. Well, over his last 8 games, he has those 5 home runs, obviously 5 and 6, but he had a couple hits in those other games. I just wanted to look at the forecast. Over those 8 games, if you stretch it out to 162, he's hitting 102 home runs and 162 RBI. So there you go. Suck it, Belt haters. No, just kidding. He's doing well. So let's hope he continues that, because if it wasn't for him, the Giants probably would have lost a couple more games this week. Johnny Cueto. Oh, my God. This guy is just on fire. He's the best pitcher in the world right now. Just crazy, man. I mean, so, again, since we recorded, 2 starts, 13 innings pitched, no runs, only 4 hits in 13 innings, 18 strikeouts, and he's not like a massive strikeout guy. A .095 batting average against and only 2 walks. His season now stands at a crappy 2-0 because he's had a couple no decisions despite the low ERA. A 0.35 ERA. That's 1 earned run in 26 innings pitched this year. 1 earned run. 23 Ks and 13 hits in those 26 innings. He is just, oh my God. He's just going out there looking so good. Now, clearly a 0.35 ERA is not sustainable. That will not carry on. But this has been great. It's only 4 starts, and he was on the DL for a little bit for the blister. But, man, if it wasn't for Cueto right now, the Giants would have another 2 or 3 losses potentially. He's been outstanding.
This is the Cueto that we were expecting to see that we saw 2 years ago, that we thought we'd see last year when the guy had a contract, option coming up. It blows my mind to think that if Cueto didn't have problems last year, he might not even be a Giant at all. It's a blessing in disguise what happened, because he's been the ace while Bumgarner's been out. I still can't get over 1 run in 26 innings. And you saw, I don't know if you saw, after he turned the double play, I believe it was Sunday's game against the Angels, he turned the double play and he was all, kicking his feet up and spun around. And it's Johnny Cueto's like into it this year. And, I mentioned Mac earlier. Is this sustainable? I don't think this is quite sustainable for Cueto. He's going to get shelled 1 or 2 times. But I have a feeling this is pretty much the Johnny Cueto we should expect to see the rest of the year.
Well, I mean, if he continues on this path, again, we all know he's not going to have a sub-1 ERA at the All-Star break. He could have a sub-2. I think that would be incredible, because guys like Chris Sale and Scherzer and Kershaw have done that before. Kershaw's had a sub-2 ERA for a whole season a few years ago. If he continues on this arc, he might be the starting National League pitcher again, like he was a couple of years ago. We'll see, though. That's jumping way, way, way too far ahead. He has another 2 months to go. 2/3 of, twice as much as what he's pitched now, let me put it that way. But the balloting does start in May, and he might get a lot of early votes, and that might help him.
If I'm not wrong, the only game that he's pitched...
Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm sorry. He's not voted in, of course. He's chosen by the the manager.
Right, yeah, the manager does it. So who the hell would that be? Oh, Dave Roberts. But the thing,
That's right.
damn.
Okay,
Forgot about that.
We weren't even thinking about that because it's way too early for All-Star talk. But now that we're talking about it, oh, that's right. It's Dave Roberts.
Kershaw started.
Let me put it this way. Unless Johnny Cueto still has a 0.35 ERA, he is not starting the All-Star game, period.
No, not at all.
There is no way if Kershaw is floating around a 2.5, a 2.2, something like that, like he normally is, there is no way he is not starting the All-Star game.
Yeah. That's hilarious. I completely forgot.
That's a really good observation. Now, okay,
Yeah, but
I take that back.
yeah. Well, I mean, Cueto, the only game that they've lost that he pitched was the one hitter against Arizona. And frankly, he pitched better than Patrick Corbin, the guy who threw the one hitter that day. So there hasn't been a game yet where Cueto's pitched where it's been like, oh no, the Giants don't have a chance today. So I didn't expect him to come out like this. I really thought the contract year would be the one, but I mean, hell, after Stratton in line, I'll take it.
And that's 2 consecutive games. He's gone more than 5 innings without allowing a hit to start a game. So that's pretty phenomenal. Again, not sustainable, but phenomenal. Chris Stratton, also, we mentioned him earlier. He's 2-0 since we recorded with 13 2/3 innings pitched, a 1.98 ERA, 13 Ks, and a 184 batting average against. But for the season, his ERA is 2.32, and it's better than Kershaw's right now. So Cueto and Stratton have been carrying the load for starting pitching on this team because we have Samardzija just coming back who got shelled, Ty Block, who's been very inconsistent, and of course Derek Holland, which you kind of just say he's just the little boy putting his fingers in the dike right now, you know, and you're like, just try to do something out there, you know, Derek Holland. Just don't get blown up, and just as long as we're within 3 runs, you did okay, and that's kind of how he's been holding it right now.
Yeah, because he's the 5th starter. There's no question about it. Holland is the guy on the way out.
He's great he's great at impressions. Probably a great teammate, but not the best pitcher in the world right now.
No.
Mac, of course, 316 since being called up with 3 bombs and 6 ribbies, and hitting the proverbial shit out of the ball. He hit that one to right center, which it was the furthest ball ever hit at AT&T Park by a right-hander to the right of dead center field. Ever. 464 feet. So, yeah, that's pretty good. That's like, and you watch him get into that ball, man. He is locked in. The way he kind of screws in with that back foot and kind of dips. He's got that right knee going really, really close to the ground, and he is just tattooing the ball. In fact, his first home run had the highest exit velocity and furthest distance of any ball hit by any Giant this year so far. In his first game. It was, 114 miles per hour it left the bat?
Yep. Hardest ball hit.
It's crazy. I mean, he's like, hey, guys, I'm just going to come in and just hit it harder than any of you have hit it all year. Is that okay? Cool. Schmack. The guy is a man. You look at him, just his physique and being out there. He looks like his jaw's about 30 feet in front of him. You know, he's just like, hopefully he's not doing.
He's like the slugger. He's first. All right, I'll put out 2 theories, not theories, but first, he's like the slugger in Major League, that's like spitting, and they finally blow the 3 fastballs by him at the end. Clue Haywood, I think was his name. Yeah. Or, as it was pointed out, I'm going to give Cole Kuiper a shout out here because I don't know if he got it from the Reddit or posted it on the Reddit, but he shared it. Mac Williamson is the human creation of John Dowd. And if you are a Major League Baseball video game player, John Dowd is the greatest video game ball player in the history of of games, and Mac's body is built just like this guy. So he's going to hit those video numbers. I'm not a video game player, so this had to be kind of explained to me. But like Cole shared this tweet, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. Because it's like the exact same physique and everything like that. I have a buddy who's jokes that he's John Dowd because he thinks he's the greatest. So like apparently it's been this running joke. So Mac Williamson is just a video game creation. So he's never going to hit that wall apparently. He's actually going to keep hitting 3 home runs every 5 days.
Yeah, I saw that that tweet from Cole, and I forgot to look it up. I swear to God, and I'm looking it up right now just because I don't want to be crazy.
I don't know what year it was from.
That's it. I was right. So I've always been big into video games, and I've been playing a lot of MVP baseball back in the day, and The Show, which is the only real baseball game out now. That's right. I knew it was in the mid 2000s, and I just wanted to confirm it. So Barry Bonds at one point broke from MLB licensing back in the middle of his heyday, or after he set the record and all that stuff like that. So him and his agent thought it would be better to basically excise him from MLB property, and he was successful in doing that. So he licensed his own products, his own gear, and all that. And as a result, any company that licensed video games through MLB now could not have Barry Bonds in their video game. So what they did is they replaced him with John Dowd in the game.
That's what it was.
I don't know where they got the name John Dowd, but I do remember that happening and playing it. So anyway, I just had to quickly look it up and
absolutely. I mean, I needed to know the real reason. So
yeah, so he was the right-handed white version of Barry Bonds.
Yes. Now I get why that happened.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, that is funny because I knew about like the MLBPA type stuff, but I didn't realize it had gone that far. I stopped playing.
What's really funny about it is I saw his tweet, and I saw the graphic, and I was like, I don't even remember what number he was, but is Mac number 51? What number is he wearing?
What is he wearing this year? I think he's wearing 51.
Yeah, so I think that was the real connection, because I didn't know if that was photoshopped or not, but now I'm looking up all the images, and indeed, John Dowd was a white, very tall, right-handed player, wore number 51, right here.
That's hilarious. Yeah, there it is. He's 51 again this year.
Okay, so
you think we'd notice that because we've seen his back swing?
I know, right?
I loved that. I had to give a little nod to Cole on that. I don't know if he found it from the Reddit. I'm on the subreddit all the time too, but it was just really, really funny.
That is really, really cool. Good observation there.
Plus, I like to give credit because he seems to promote good things when they come across. Like he's shared our stuff before.
So Hunter Strickland, he's gotten a little bit of hate again this year too, but I think he's blown 2 games. Two saves. But the Giants won both of them. So his blown saves haven't hurt the team per se. His ERA is like a 1.62 right now. He's got good stuff. He's just run into 2 bad swings, really. And both of them involved Paul Goldschmidt. So, it's like, all right, so don't have him save against Paul Goldschmidt, I guess. That would be the answer. So he's converted 3 saves in a row, and I think he's doing a fine job. He's not terrible right now.
No.
2 saves ago, he did have, his runners on the corners, and Mike Trout was looming on deck, and he got the batter to pop out or whatever it was, or strike out. But, it is what it is. Again, what is the better alternative right now? Moranta's making a good case, but aside from him, I don't see anyone else who would be the logical replacement for him. And again, you don't replace a guy who's blown 2 one-run leads off the same guy, in which games you actually ended up winning anyway. So the Giants' record has not been affected in a negative way because of Hunter Strickland.
I'm impressed with Hunter this year. A lot of it has to do with Posey and Strickland's willingness to go off the fastball. The other night, it was Monday night's game. Strickland did not have it. He clearly just didn't have it. His I think he was amped up because it was the Nats, because his fastball kept drifting high and away. And we all know that your release point gets screwed up when you get a little too excited. And Buster just kept going to the breaking stuff and starting off pitchers, batters with breaking stuff and kind of pitching backwards and doing those things. And I think it helped Strickland. And frankly, he seems like a different guy. He seems more mature. He doesn't seem like the same buckethead that threw at Strickland last year and ended Morse's career. After working with Smoltz in the offseason. And I believe, if I'm not wrong, I think Strickland got married recently too. And as weird as it sounds, that always kind of seems to help. Guys always seem to get a little more grounded when they get married. They just seem to be a little more mature. They seem to handle their stuff better, if you will. So I've had no problem with Strickland. He is hot. He in my mind. I wouldn't say he's not hot. Yeah, he's still hot. Oh, there it is. I had to scroll up. He should be the closer. We talked about it, and you'll mention him on the update. But there's no reason for now that Strickland should be anywhere but where he is.
Yeah, I thought Hunter had been married. I think it was a kid he had, and so I just looked it up, and it was just
Okay.
his daughter was born last April, actually. So his daughter's a year
Oh, wow.
old. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But I will agree with you in that having a kid can definitely, change you for the better. But ironically, that fight happened after.
Because it was Memorial Day. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but to be fair, he wasn't home all off season with a newborn or anything like that.
Yeah.
So he totally didn't know what he was in for yet. And I have a feeling that somehow, some way, he kind of got humbled this off season.
Right. So some of the bullpen has been holding it down, but I'm not going to list 8 people as far as being who's hot. We can talk about who's not. Jeff Samardzija, he came up for his first game against the Angels, and here I'm thinking, oh my God, we just talked about him getting lit up in San Jose, allowing a grand slam to a guy who had 2 home runs and 700-something career at-bats.
Yeah, that still blows me away.
And so I was like, oh, he is going, we're talking Mike Trout and all these guys. He is just going to get, 0 runs over 5 innings. It was like, huh? What? What happened there? So then there was that little brief, illumination of hope. But much like he's been with the Giants, he is hot or cold. He's a little bit like Brandon Belt on the mound. He can have a great game and then just get blown the F up. And that's exactly what happened against the Nats. He just got torched, man. Just torched. It was the same old shark bombs, and getting hit. So unfortunately, he got trashed yesterday and is over 2 games. Granted, it's small, whatever. His ERA is going to fluctuate, but it's at 6.23. Which included the 5 shutout innings, which is why it's so bad. So obviously he's been cold. Brandon Crawford, he started out the season pretty well. He is now 2 for his last 28. That's been since we recorded. No RBI, 1 run, 9 Ks, and his season average is now down to 200. So he's, granted, we all love him for his defense more than his offense, but he's still a okay hitting shortstop with a little bit of pop, and he's just not been showing it right now. So
he looks lost at the plate.
He looks completely lost. But here's the thing, and I didn't list him in my who's not right now, but Andrew McCutchen, he's getting up to 88 at-bats now. He's hitting 205. And I think a lot of the pressure has been off of him because of a couple of big home runs he's had and big hits. He's had 2 walk-offs by himself. The Giants only have 11 wins, right? 2 of them are via Andrew McCutchen. So he's definitely been valuable to the team, but overall, 205 hitting at the top of the lineup, this is not good. This is just not good at all. His on-base percentage is 314. Yeah, this is...
I knew he was struggling, and I looked at some numbers the other day, but...
His OPS is 666. So there you go. Woo-hoo.
Oh, wow. I have a buddy... OPS. I have a buddy who's a Pirates fan, and he hasn't been happy with Kutch for like 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah, last year he was incredible with the Pirates.
I thought so too.
With the Pirates.
I thought so too. But my buddy seems to totally jump ship. And this is a guy who understands baseball. He's not just some, you know what I mean. And he thinks that Kutch has lost it, and I'm starting to wonder because. When he makes contact, he's hitting the ball hard, but he's not making as much contact as I expected him to make. That's kind of what's been the surprise. Yeah, so,
Kutch has got to really turn it on here. He's almost 100 bats into the season. He's only got 18 hits and 88 at-bats. That's not good. Crawford, like I said, is lower than him, and Hunter Pence, of course, is hitting 172, kind of rounding out the guys who have had significant at-bats this year, because you don't include any of the pitchers. Well, in fact, there's no other players below him anyway, so that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Andrew Jackson is... Did I say Andrew? Austin Jackson. He's not a president. 213. So not so good there. 258 odd base percentage for a leadoff hitter. Not good.
Yeah, well, he's not a leadoff hitter anymore.
Yeah.
I think the lineup, it was Tuesday's lineup, I believe, that went panic. And this is funny. This is actually my armchair manager. But Jackson's been dropped down to 7th or 8th, and I think he's going to spend some time down there with Crawford. I don't think that Bochy likes him as a leadoff man because the guy never gets on base.
He doesn't get on base. I mean, that's the number one rule, right? Your leadoff guy's got to get on base, or at least have a higher on-base percentage than most of the other guys. Evan Longoria's had a nice little 3-game streak, which he had a couple of bombs and everything, but he's just gone ice cold the last 3 games again. So overall, he's 222 on the year. Yeah, he's 4 after that little 3-game mini streak the beginning of last week. He's 4 for 23. So
my concern,
just
well, he's Longoria. It's weird because Longo was like, I can't wait to get on the road trip because then we can bond as a team. And then he comes home and he struggles again. Like,
I know.
He seems to be a guy having a tough time adjusting to AT&T Park. I think seeing balls get hit 350 feet and dying in the air is getting to him a little bit.
Yeah,
because
there's
something at home. He's just not clicking just yet, which is, I mean, I don't want to say fine. The guy's got 7 doubles on the season. That's impressive. He leads the team by 4. Like, nobody even has more than 3. So that's, he's consistent in the sense that he'll hit for extra bases and power, but he's just not hitting enough at all right now. I wonder what that is. I wonder why he's having a hard time at home.
Yeah, he's hitting 167 at home and 255 on the road.
Yeah, that's almost 100 points.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I'm still happy with Longo as the third baseman, though. I'm fine with it. I'd rather have him than Pablo. 10 out of 10
I'm
days.
still fine with him, and obviously Kutch in right field. I'm not.
Yeah.
Not poo-pooing that. I just, your two.
They're just not hot.
Your 2 main jewels that you acquired over the season, just have not been, pulling what was expected of them so far. Plenty of time to turn it around. Plenty of time, but. I fully expect Longo and Kutch to all end up above 250 with, 20 bombs. And if that's what they do, that's kind of what my expectations were at. But if they end the season at 220, 230, with less than 20 bombs, then I'd say that was a fairly large failure on the part of both of those guys. Because
strangely,
Kutch is only on the team for a year. And unless
right.
he does something great and the Giants want to keep him, I think this is the only time he's ever going to play for the Giants. I think next year he's with another team.
Yeah, it was weird because I thought that particular reason would be why Kutch would do better than Longo. But I have more faith now that Longo is going to be a better hitter down the stretch than McCutcheon. Mm-hmm. But that's just April, and we're making judgments off of 3 weeks of baseball. So
yeah, again, we're talking 20,
right.
24 games, guys. Okay, so injury update. Let's do that first. So Mark Melancon, he was kind of off for 2 weeks after he got that stem cell injection we talked about, and he was supposed to return to, quote, baseball activities today, which meant light throwing and other things. I have not seen anything come across Twitter recently to report out what he might have been doing today, but if you assume that he's getting back and throwing on flat ground today, that's great. I did hear an interview with Bochy last week, and they kind of asked him about, hey, what do you expect? And it really is an I don't know situation. They don't know. They were going to wait till he got back into baseball activities and judge it from there. And, I mean, the good news is that there was no structural damage. They've proven that. There's just this irritation he can't seem to overcome, which was, a bit of the stem cell injection. But I don't want to beat a dead horse. We really went into it last time, and, He's definitely fleeced the Giants so far, and the guy seems to be just the opposite of Midas right now. Just man.
They're at square. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say they're at square one
for 5 years. And then he joins the Giants, and it's like a curse was placed upon him and the team. That's the way it goes. So yeah, no timetable on him. And then Chris Stratton, we just talked about him. He is on the paternity list for his second child, and Roberto Gomez was called up. So
Strat had the kid.
Yeah.
And we'll be back to pitch Saturday against LA.
Okay. And I heard something like that, but I wasn't sure, so that's great that you reported that out. So the good news is that they kind of have an extra reliever for Friday night, I guess, right? Because assuming he's not put back on the roster then. So
no, there's no need to put him back on until Saturday, and they get 26 guys on Saturday. So
there you go. That's right. So that's cool. Let's get a little into Armchair Manager. We don't always cover this, but I thought it was an interesting develop this week. Bruce Bochy joined Twitter. So my question is, should Bochy have joined Twitter?
I'm willing to bet because he quote unquote joined Twitter yesterday or 2 days ago, whenever he did some Twitter chat. But somebody did a little digging and found that he actually joined on the final day of last season. He just never tweeted anything. And my assumption means he and Flan were sitting around drinking some wine. The season was over. Maybe something else was ingested. And I'm sure that Flan was like, you should see these people. And Bochy's like, well, I'm going to sign up. Let's see what it is. And then they're both like, no, don't tweet. Don't tweet. That wouldn't be a good idea. And then they waited until he did this Twitter chat the other day and had like the Giants people set it up or something like that. Should he have joined? No, he shouldn't have, because people are going to tag him and say the stupidest things.
Yeah, I read an article with him from yesterday, and they were asking him about that. And they said, so are you prepared? First of all, he had like 14,000 followers in the first 24 hours, and he's like, is that a lot? And I guess like Hank Schulman is like, I have 65,000 over 9 years. So, yeah, that's a lot, dude. And they asked him, are you prepared for the negativity? How are you going to use Twitter? It can be toxic and all that. And, I don't have the article up right now, but he said something to the effect of, well, basically, I'm really primarily going to use Twitter for things like charities, announce charities and those kinds of events. So he's not going to necessarily use it for, hey, guys, this is why I did this move. I mean, so far he's tweeted out like, hi, guys, I'm on Twitter. Right. Or something like that. And then, hey guys, we're undefeated since I joined Twitter. We're 1-0, right?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. And so, I looked at the responses, and of course there's a lot of positive ones, and then there's some really, really bad ones too, some really negative ones. And they asked him about the negative ones. He's like, well, if I read them, maybe I'll just tweet something back like, have a great day or something like that.
Boach, you're not going to want to waste your time.
He's like, Flan warned me. He's like, yeah, I probably won't read all that stuff. So I was like, well, of course not. Of course you're the manager of a Major League Baseball team with a Twitter account. You do not read any of the tweets. None. You could log on and go, hey, guys, hope you had a nice day, and log off. But that's about it. Or announce your charities, right?
You did the same thing we all do. Nobody knows what to say for their first tweet. Nobody's not, I remember when I signed up for Twitter, I didn't know anybody. I wasn't a part of any of these communities. I'm like, what do I do? And he kind of did the same. And I'm looking, he's got 2 more tweets now. He's talking about come hang with me and Amy G. And then he'll be with Marty after the game yesterday. So he retweeted that Marty said that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it.
So that's really.
Should he have joined? No, he shouldn't have joined.
No, he shouldn't. He shouldn't have joined. He shouldn't have joined. But he did. So hopefully he's not reading anything. He's just opening up the compose window and hitting send and then closing it.
I've tried to do that before when I'm watching a game or something. And I know I'm on a slight lag, so I don't want to get it spoiled. I'll try to. It's so hard to do. It's so hard to open Twitter and not read the timeline. It's so hard.
Well, the fact that he retweeted Marty's tweet, it's like. Well, I mean, he could have just looked at mentions, but a lot of people are sending him mentions. So I'm sure he's read a couple of things and went, whoa, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. I wouldn't be shocked, though, if his guy or Marty said to him, hey, I tagged you now that I can. And he's like, oh, really? Let me try this.
Yeah, retweet. Bochy's the kind of guy where it doesn't, to be honest, if he read every single tweet ever made in a disparaging way against him, he'd just be like, whatever.
Like, he wouldn't care.
It would roll off his back. Unlike a Tim Flannery, who just, woo, man, he does not like people attacking him or baseball or anything like that. He will fight like a dog. So, and I like Tim Flannery, but man, he's made himself look like an ass several times with his responses. Because number one, the guy needs some grammar and spelling education.
But he doesn't care because he's
just lazy.
Lifer.
Yeah, I know he knows how to spell these words, but the way it's written, it's like, are you 12? But and then he'll just go off about sabermetricians and politics and things like that, where it's like, all right, pump the brakes, dude. It's okay.
But he's got time on his hands. I love Flan. I've gone back
he's-
and forth with Flan plenty. It's hard for Flan to ever do something wrong in my eyes. That's just me though. That's total personal stuff with Flan. I'll go to my.
He seems like he
manager.
would be a fun guy to go have a beer or something.
Oh
else
yeah,
with.
the time I've spent with him, we didn't even talk baseball. So it's.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
It's nice. He's that kind of guy. I know some of his family. It's how it is. It's Twitter did that. That's kind of what I mean when I say, Bochy gets on like we all did, and we all like, I don't know what to say. But that was, God, I've been on Twitter 9 years. It's like, wow, all this stuff comes from it. So, but Bochy, no. Because if you know what, I should tag Bochy. I can give him my armchair manager. I should tell him I want to see more of the lineup he trotted out on Tuesday. I loved having Panic bat first. I loved Kutch second, Belt third, Posey. I mean, you immediately go left, right.
Yeah.
And then you have Longo and Mack as the thump for all those guys who get on base. So I should tweet at him and no, I'll never do that. But that's my armchair manager. Give me more of that lineup. That's the lineup I want to see. And then I guess Jackson batting and Crawford batting 7th and 8th.
7th and 8th. Yeah.
Right.
I like that too. I like that too. Belt on the third hole, especially the way he's hitting right now.
Yeah.
Posey's always been hitting 4th. Longo, Mack, yeah. And we'll see how long Kutch lasts with this bad streak, but I like that lineup too. All right, so coming up, the Giants have 4 versus the Dodgers at home. Of course, they have a doubleheader on Saturday. That's for the makeup of a rainout earlier this month, which will be fun. 4 versus the Dodgers. They're holding their own against L.A. They're only half game back of L.A. right now. So let's, obviously, split is an absolute minimal requirement. You cannot lose 3 out of 4 at home to L.A. That's just going to start that slow burying process once again, like 3 out of 4 versus San Diego. But, hey, we can always hope for 3 out of 4 the Giants win. If they do that, they're going to gain 2 games on L.A., hopefully gain a game on Arizona, and be back up to, that would put them a game above 500 at the end of the series.
Yeah.
So I think that's the real goal is 3 out of 4. That's hard, though. It's hard. The way they're built right now, and against the Dodgers, who are a really good team, what are you going to do? I mean,
I'll say they're lined up really well for the weekend.
Yeah,
because they've got they got Stratton and Cueto going on Saturday. See, I'm not even there yet. They've got Stratton and Cueto pitching the doubleheader, and those are the Giants' 2 best pitchers. Yeah. They could look to sweep because Holland's throwing the Friday game and Block will start on Sunday against Maeda, but Cueto and Stratton on the doubleheader is huge, and then. The one name I didn't mention there was Clayton Kershaw will not be pitching in this series.
Mm-hmm.
The Giants get to miss him after all the times that they see him extra time this, extra time that. This was an extra long series, too, because of the rain out, and the Giants still managed to miss Kershaw. It's kind of a blessing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The Giants have beaten Kershaw, and Kershaw has not been the Kershaw of old so far at the beginning of the season, but he hasn't been absolutely atrocious. He's just hit a couple bumps here in the road here. Derek Holland, though, the only thing that concerns me is with that goal of 3 out of 4, him pitching game number 1, anything can happen, but, if the Giants offense goes to sleep and he allows his normal 3 or 4 runs in 5 innings or 6 innings, and they lose game 1, then you're suddenly up against the, oh my God, we need to win 2 out of 3 just to split. And that's where I think the problem comes in. So... I'm not saying they should change the rotation or anything like that, but Derek Holland leading off is it's rough. It's rough, and teams rarely sweep doubleheaders. It's amazing the percentages are so. You'd think that, and I don't have the stats in front of me, but I know it's far less than 25%. But let's say you have 2 dice, right, and you roll them against one another 2 times in a row. Well, 25% of the time. You're going to have one team beat the other and the other beat the other. So if you add those 2 up because you flip-flop games, it's 50% of the time you're going to have a split. And then 25% of the time you're going to have one team sweep and 25% of the time the other team sweeps. Well, it's definitely not that 50% total in terms of either team sweeping. So it's far, far, far less than that. It seems that splits are just way more common than statistically expected. I don't know why that is. I think that would be a whole paper in itself. Point I'm making is most likely the Giants would split on Saturday. And if they lose Friday's game, that puts a lot of pressure on Sunday. I'm getting way ahead of myself. I just think it's going to be hard with Holland and the doubleheader. But
that's why I like the way they're lined up with Strat and Cueto.
I was going to say, but Stratton and Cueto, I think, give them a better chance of potentially winning both games than otherwise. So,
as far as those doubleheaders, I have to wonder, and this is just for the study. We'll talk about this on the doubleheader podcast. I have to wonder if the team that won the first game, if there's some sort of psychological letdown in the second game because they've already won a game that day, and your mind is like, all right, I already won, so who the hell cares if I win this game? You don't really feel that way, but like there might be something in the back of the mind there. I don't know. We'll tackle that on the, So I wondered, just maybe as you were talking, I thought of that.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. And then after that, they have 3 against San Diego at home. So those are the next 7 games. We do anticipate on recording on Monday, so most likely it would only be after these 4 games. But it's a worthy one to talk about because it is against the Dodgers. So we can try and get back on our normal schedule. If things fall apart for whatever reason, then it might be the Thursday or the following Monday. But like we said, we want to get back on this regular pattern of recording every week if we can. So it's okay to record after the 4-game series. Some people do this every day.
Well, yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how they find time, but yeah.
All right. The other thing I wanted to say, and Eric mentioned it at the top of the show, but he's been writing a lot more for the site. I love his weekly torture reports right now. They're very well written, and they're a lot of fun, so I urge you guys to check those out. They come out generally every Friday. I know this last week you did it on Monday because of the reason that we didn't record the podcast, but please check those out. They're fantastic. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, on Stitcher. You can even find us on Podomatic and Podbean and
Spotify.
Get us on Spotify, and now we automatically publish to YouTube as well. There's no video, obviously. I mean, if in a perfect world, I'd love to live stream this and have video, and we have the technical capabilities to do all of that. But I have to honestly ask myself, is that really going to enhance the podcast and your enjoyment? I think, first of all, you don't want to see our ugly mugs.
Nope.
So, yeah. Second of all, then I have to, not look like as much crap as I do right now.
Oh, yeah. I've been in the yard all day, so
I'd have to get a lit background and do all this, professional-looking stuff. And I just, you know what? Probably not going to happen. But I don't know. We might play with it.
Shaved in a while.
But yeah, it's not like, oh my gosh, we're getting so many more followers because they could see us now. In fact, I think our followers would drop after.
The YouTube's good though. I'll tell folks though, that's a good place to listen to the podcast. Although this is the end of the show when you've heard it laid, on the other. But I've done it myself because it's easy to just pop it on. Or if you have an Alexa, you can say, Alexa, play the most recent TortureCast podcast, and she'll start doing it.
And she does it on YouTube. Yeah, she looks over there. So. I haven't had that work on Spotify yet. I can play it on Spotify, and I have Spotify registered with my Alexa, so she'll play, music that I asked for. Now playing, Bob Dylan on Spotify. But when I say TortureCast, she says, I can't find TortureCast.
Yeah, I don't know why she didn't just play it just then. She's sitting right next to me. I expected to have to mute real quick, and she never started talking. Something must be wrong with my Alexa.
Oh, well, that's all right. So check that out at torturecast.com. You can find all of the links to the show notes, to the podcast, to Eric's articles, to the other stuff we've written, interviews in the past, and hopefully you'll be able to go to a game here soon and get some more interviews going on. You can follow us collectively at TortureCast, like us on Facebook, or follow us individually at ChadK21. You can follow Eric at 2OutHits with the number 2, and then Ben and Willie, they've obviously taken a step back in terms of the podcast, and they're not officially out or anything like that, everyone. So if you're a fan of Willie or Ben, they will appear sporadically, but not often, to be honest. So they have other things in their hobbies and careers that have developed that don't allow them to record as often as they would like to and we would like them to. But they're still certainly welcome back on the show, and Willie's probably going to make more appearances than Ben, but follow along for that. You can follow them individually at Willie Dills and at Fried Duck. So have anything else there, Eric, that I missed?
No, Torture Report, like you said, will come out. I'll probably hold off till next Friday for another one because, we talked here, we talked Dodgers here. Unless I get the urge to write in the middle of the night, and I doubt that's going to happen. So there probably won't be anything until next week. So I'll be able to promo it again next week.
Awesome. Okay, well, for Eric, this is Chad signing off for episode 140, and we'll see you next week, probably Monday, for episode 141. Ba-boom.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.